She wasn't supposed to be noticed. Not at a gala like this. The last thing she expected at her first company gala in Seoul was a child in a black suit stopping in front of her chair. The ballroom glittered with crystal lights and powerful people. CEOs, politicians, investors. Every table carried influence. She didn't belong here. Not really. She was just the new African hire trying not to spill her drink or say the wrong thing. So she sat quietly in the corner, observing, invisible, until she felt someone staring at her. She looked, and saw a little boy in a perfectly tailored black suit standing in front of her chair. 7 years old. Calm. Observant. Too confident for his age and serious eyes. He didn't look lost. He looked intentional. He had walked straight through a crowd of billionaires and stopped right in front of her. The room didn't notice. But she did. "Hi," he said softly. She blinked. "Hello." He hesitated. Then, in a whisper only she could hear, "Can I hug you, miss?" Her heart melted instantly. She laughed nervously. "Of course." She leaned down and hugged him gently. He wrapped his small arms around her, and he leaned closer to her ear. And that's when he whispered something that made her freeze. "My daddy likes you." She pulled back slightly. "What?" He leaned closer. "Will you marry my daddy and be my mummy?" Her breath caught. "Who's your daddy?" she asked carefully. The boy turned, pointed across the ballroom. And standing there, watching them with cold, unreadable eyes, was the most powerful man in the room. Her boss. The cold Korean billionaire. The man who never smiled. And she had just hugged his son. She froze. A chill ran down her spine. What happens when a child accidentally reveals a secret his father never meant to show? Don't look away. Because tonight, one innocent whisper is about to change everything and things are about to get intense. Stay glued to see every shocking twist, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a single moment of this story, and tell us where you are watching from in the comments. Back to the story. The moment the little boy pointed across the ballroom, her world tilted. Because standing beneath the chandelier, tall, composed, terrifyingly calm, was her boss. Kang Tae-hyun, the cold Korean billionaire who built an empire before he turned 35. The man employees described with one word: untouchable. His sharp gaze wasn't on the crowd. It wasn't on the investors. It wasn't even on the stage. It was on her. And his son. Still standing in front of her. Still holding her hand. Her throat went dry. Jinwoo, a deep voice called across the hall. Calm. Controlled. But dangerous. The boy turned happily. Appa. The room shifted. People noticed now. Executives subtly leaned in. Board members exchanged looks. Because Kang Tae-hyun did not bring his son to public corporate events. Ever. And he definitely did not let him wander up to employees. She quickly released Jinwoo's hand and stood up. "I'm so sorry, sir. I didn't." "You didn't what?" His voice was smooth as glass. She swallowed. "I didn't know he was your son." Jinwoo frowned. "Why are you apologizing?" he asked innocently. "I like her." A few nearby guests chuckled softly. Taehyun's jaw tightened. "Jinwoo," he said evenly, "come here." But the boy didn't move. Instead, he looked up at her again. "I told her you like her too." Silence. Absolute silence. Even the music from the stage seemed to fade. Her heart stopped. She dared not look at her boss. But she felt it. That shift in the air. That crack in his control. "Jinwoo," Taehyun repeated, firmer now. The boy finally walked back to him. But before leaving, he whispered one last thing to her. "Don't be scared. He only looks mean." And just like that, he was gone back at his father's side. Taehyun rested a protective hand on his son's shoulder. Then he looked at her. Not as an employee. Not as background. But directly. Intently. Assessing. She felt exposed. "Enjoying the gala, miss?" he asked coolly. She straightened. "Amara, sir." "Miss Amara," he repeated slowly, as if testing the sound of her name. "Yes, sir." "Good." That was it. He turned and walked away with Jinwoo. But the damage was done. Because now everyone in that ballroom was looking at her. The African employee. The one the billionaire's son hugged. The one the child said his father liked. Her peaceful corner of invisibility was gone. And across the room, Taehyun felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Not irritation. Not embarrassment. Not anger. But something far more inconvenient. Interest. Because Jinwoo never approached strangers. Never. And yet, he had walked past a room full of powerful elites. And chosen her. Taehyun glanced down at his son. Why her? He asked quietly. Jinwoo smiled. She looked lonely. Taehyun's eyes lifted again. Toward Amara. Sitting stiffly now, trying to disappear again. Lonely. He watched her for 3 long seconds. Then looked away. But not before realizing something dangerous. For the first time in years. He wanted to walk toward someone. Not away. The gala ended. But the whispers didn't. By Monday morning, the entire company had a new topic. Not profits. Not mergers. Not expansion deals. Her. Amara felt it the moment she stepped into the elevator. 2 assistants stopped talking mid-sentence. Someone glanced at her, then quickly at their phone. She kept her posture straight. Head high. Professional. She would not let a child's innocent words destroy her career. But at exactly 9:17 a.m., her desk phone rang. The internal line. Her heartbeat stumbled. Yes, Miss Amara, came the smooth voice of the executive assistant upstairs. The chairman would like to see you. Chairman. Not CEO. Not Mr. Kong. Chairman. Which meant this wasn't casual. Her palms grew cold. Right now? Yes. Immediately. The top floor of Kong Group headquarters felt colder than the rest of the building. Quieter. More powerful. She stood outside his office door for exactly 3 seconds before knocking. Come in. His voice was calm. Unreadable. She stepped inside. The office was wide, glass walls overlooking Seoul's skyline. Minimalist. Clean. Controlled. Like him. Kong Taehyun stood near the window, hands behind his back. He didn't turn around immediately. Close the door, he said. She did. The soft click sounded louder than it should have. Silence stretched between them. Then he spoke. My son is not allowed to wander at corporate events. I understand, sir. He does not approach strangers. I understand, sir. Now he turned. And his gaze was sharper than it had been at the gala. Yet he walked across a room full of investors, and chose you. Her throat tightened. I didn't encourage him. I didn't say you did. He walked slowly toward his desk, measured steps. I'm aware of the gossip circulating. I apologize if. You will not apologize for other people's imagination. The interruption was firm. Controlled. But protective. That surprised her. He sat down. Steepled his fingers. Let me be clear, Miss Amara. My son is my priority. If anyone uses him for influence, I would never, she said quickly, emotion slipping into her voice. Silence. He studied her carefully. Her steady breathing. Her clenched hands. Her refusal to look intimidated. You came to Seoul alone, he said suddenly. Yes. No family here. No. And yet you accepted an invitation to a room full of powerful men without hesitation. It was a company event, sir. That's not what I meant. His tone softened, just slightly. You were nervous. Her eyes flickered. I was new. And still, he continued quietly, you didn't pretend to be someone else. That wasn't what she expected. She looked up. Really looked at him. Cold exterior. Controlled posture. But something else beneath it. You seemed lonely, he added. Her breath caught. My son said that, he finished. The room shifted. You shouldn't listen to everything a child says, she replied softly. I listen to everything my son says. A beat. Then. Did what he said make you uncomfortable? She hesitated. Honesty felt dangerous. No, she admitted. It surprised me. His gaze lingered. And if he asks again? Her pulse quickened. That depends. On what? She met his eyes fully now. On whether you plan to keep pretending you don't like me, sir. Silence. Thick. Electric. For the first time, Kong Taehyun looked caught off guard. Just slightly. But enough. Then the corner of his mouth almost lifted. You are bold. I prefer honest. He stood. Walked closer. Close enough that she could feel his presence without him touching her. Be careful with honesty in this building, he murmured. People confuse it with ambition. And you, she asked quietly. What do you confuse it with? His gaze dropped to her lips for half a second. then back to her eyes. Danger. A knock on the door shattered the tension. His assistant entered gently. Sir, Jinwoo is here. He insisted on stopping by. Taehyun's expression changed instantly. Softer. Send him in. The little boy rushed inside happily. He ran straight to Amara. Not his father. Her. Miss, he beamed. Taehyun watched that carefully. Very carefully. Because this was no longer about a Gala misunderstanding. It was about something forming. Something neither of them planned. And something far more dangerous than gossip. Attachment. By Wednesday afternoon, the whispers had evolved. Now they weren't subtle. Now they were strategic. Because in corporate buildings like the Kang Group, rumors were currency. And someone had decided to spend them. Amara was organizing files in the conference room when the door opened behind her. Slow, confident footsteps. Not Taehyun's. Miss Amara, a smooth voice greeted. She turned. Director Choi Min-suk. Mid-30s. Impeccable suit. Charming smile. Known for aggressive investments and even more aggressive flirting. Yes, Director Choi. He stepped inside, closing the door casually behind him. I've been meaning to speak with you. Oh. He leaned lightly against the conference table. I heard you made quite an impression at the gala. Her expression remained neutral. I simply attended. With the chairman's son attached to you? He chuckled. That's not simple. She didn't respond. He studied her. You know, he continued, lowering his voice, the chairman isn't the only powerful man in this company. Her stomach tightened. I'm here to work, Director. And I admire ambition. He stepped closer. Too close. I'm hosting a private investors' dinner this Friday. Smaller crowd. More selective. She held her ground. I'm not an investor. No, he smiled, eyes traveling briefly, but you could be very valuable. The implication hung heavy in the air. Before she could respond, the conference room door opened. No knock. No warning. Silence fell instantly. Kang Taehyun stood in the doorway. Expression unreadable. Cold. Sharp. Director Choi straightened immediately. Chairman, he greeted smoothly. We were just discussing. I'm aware of what you were discussing. His tone was calm. Too calm. Amara felt it, the shift in oxygen. Taehyun stepped inside. Slow. Controlled. His gaze moved from Choi to her, then back again. Director Choi, he said evenly, are investor dinners now conducted in empty conference rooms during working hours? Choi forced a polite smile. Of course not. I was merely extending a professional invitation. To my employee. A beat. Yes. Taehyun walked closer. Not to her. To Choi. Close enough that the power imbalance became obvious. Let me clarify something, Taehyun said softly. Miss Amara reports directly under my division. Choi nodded cautiously. I'm aware. Good. Another step forward. Then you are also aware that if she were interested in expanding her responsibilities, I would be the first to know. The temperature in the room dropped. Choi's jaw tightened. I meant no disrespect. I know exactly what you meant. Silence. Choi adjusted his cufflinks. My apologies, Chairman. He turned to leave, but paused near the door. Be careful, he added lightly, glancing at Amara. The higher the attention, the faster people fall. And then he left. The door clicked shut. The room felt smaller. He turned slowly toward her. Did he touch you? Taehyun asked quietly. No. Did he imply something inappropriate? Her jaw tightened. Yes. Something dark flickered in Taehyun's eyes. Not corporate irritation. Not professional disapproval. Possessiveness. You will not attend any private events unless cleared by me, he said. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Cleared by you. He stepped closer. This company is not kind to women who attract attention. And you think I'm attracting it on purpose? I think, he replied calmly, you underestimate how dangerous men become when they feel entitled. Silence. Then she said softly. And what about you? His eyes locked onto hers. What about me? Do you feel entitled? The question hung between them. Electric. His voice dropped. No. A pause. I feel protective. Her heart skipped. Why? She whispered. He didn't answer immediately. Because the truth was inconvenient. Because it had nothing to do with corporate hierarchy. Because the moment he saw another man standing too close to her, Something territorial had ignited. And he didn't like it. Finally, he said quietly, "Because my son trusts you." But they both knew. That wasn't the only reason. Across the building, Director Choi watched through the glass wall of his office. And smiled. Because now he knew. The cold Korean billionaire had a weakness. And weaknesses could be exploited. Friday evening. Director Choi's private investors' dinner. Selective crowd. Elite guests. The media strategically invited. Amara hadn't planned to attend. But that morning, a company-wide email was released. A subtle announcement. Miss Amara has been invited as a special guest of Director Choi. The implication was clear. Not professional. Personal. By noon, the whispers had turned vicious. By 3 p.m., a board member requested clarification. By 4 p.m., her integrity was being questioned. She stood in Taehyun's office, furious, but composed. "I didn't accept his invitation." "I know," he said calmly. "Then why is this happening?" "Because power doesn't like competition. Because men like Choi don't retreat quietly." But instead he said, "Because someone wants to see how I react." Her eyes lifted slowly. "And how will you react, Chairman?" His jaw tightened slightly. "By attending." That evening, the investors' dinner shimmered with controlled tension. Director Choi stood at the center of attention. Confident. Smiling. Until the room shifted. Because the doors opened. And Kang Taehyun walked in. Not alone. Amara was beside him. The murmurs started immediately. Choi's smile faltered. Taehyun didn't look at him. He walked calmly to the center of the room. "Good evening," he said smoothly. "I heard there was confusion regarding one of my employees." Silence spread like fire. Choi stepped forward carefully. "Chairman, there's no confusion. Miss Amara was simply invited." Without authorization, Taehyun interrupted. Measured. Precise. Then he did something no one expected. He reached for Amara's hand. Not subtly. Not secretly. Publicly. Gasps rippled across the room. "She works under my direct authority," Taehyun continued. "And any professional engagement involving her goes through me." His gaze moved across the crowd. "And for the record." He paused. Every camera was lifted now. "I do not tolerate anyone attempting to leverage my employees for personal ambition." Choi's face hardened. "This is unnecessary." "No," Taehyun said calmly. "This is clarity." He turned slightly toward Amara. And for the first time in public, his expression softened. "My son," he added evenly, "has already expressed his approval." A stunned laugh escaped somewhere in the room. Choi went pale. Because this was no longer corporate defense. This was personal claim. Taehyun's voice lowered slightly. "And I agree with him." Silence. Complete. Absolute. He wasn't shouting. He wasn't threatening. But everyone understood. Director Choi had lost. Publicly. Decisively. Taehyun turned toward him one final time. "Director Choi," he said calmly, "we'll discuss your future with this company on Monday." That was the end of it. No raised voices. No scandal. Just power. Outside, under the cool Seoul night sky, Amara finally spoke. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes," he replied simply. "I did." She searched his face. "Why?" He looked at her. Not as an employee. Not as an obligation. But as a man finally honest with himself. "Because I don't like seeing other men stand too close to you." Her breath caught. "That sounds like jealousy." "It is." No hesitation. No denial. Just truth. A black car pulled up. Before the driver could step out, a small voice burst from the back seat. "Did you win, Appa?" Jinwoo leaned out excitedly. Taehyun smirked slightly. "Yes." The boy looked at Amara eagerly. "See? I told you he likes you." Her cheeks warmed. Taehyun looked down at his son. "You're not helping." Jinwoo grinned. Then Taehyun looked back at her. More serious now. "I don't move carelessly," he said quietly. "And I don't say things I don't mean." A pause. "If I step toward you, it will not be temporary." The city lights reflected in her eyes. "And if I step back?" she asked softly. "Then I will follow," he replied. No coldness. No walls. Just certainty. For the first time since arriving in Seoul, she didn't feel invisible. She felt chosen. And inside the car, Jinwoo whispered to himself proudly. "I knew it." If this story touched your heart even a little, don't just watch, feel it with us. Like this video so more people can discover this love story. Comment below. Love always finds its way. And if you believe destiny can whisper through a child's voice, subscribe to this channel right now. Because the next story might just change everything you believe about love.